Welcome to the Rangers Rabble, the Hibs preview game for the game on Boxing Day. My name's Derrick, and I'm joined today by Wilf. Wilf, how you doing?
Not bad, Derrick. Not bad at all.
Good, mate. Good, mate. And Scott, I'm also joined by Scott today. How are you, Scott?
Very good. Very good. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. You too. Thanks for giving up your time on Christmas Eve. I hope your partners or whoever it is at home is not giving you too much grief like I'm getting. So we've got a game, Boxing Day. Christmas is not really the period it is for everyone else. It is for footballers. The games come thick and fast. We've got a big 3 points to play for. Hibs at Ibrox. Wilf, how big a game is it? Without repeating myself on every preview show, but how big a game is it on Sunday?
As we say every as we say every preview show, every game big. I mean, it's massive, but Hibs is probably one of the biggest this season. I mean, we're certainly Hibs' biggest game this season because we're Hearts being in the Championship. The game they'll look for is us. So without question, it's a huge game for them, which by definition means it's an enormous game for us because we'll have a challenge anyway because whoever it is will be up for it. But I think Hibs will be doubly up for it because it is going to be one of their 4 biggest games of the season.
Yeah, totally agree. Scott, massive game, isn't it?
Yeah, love it. There's 2 ways of looking at it. I think you hit the nail on the head. Massive game. Every game is massive for us from here on in. But then you've got the individual stakes, as it were. And for some reason, Hibs have made themselves, I wouldn't say always relevant, but slightly more important than the average game. So looking forward to it. It's always one that's always a bit feisty, lively, and I think more importantly, it's always a good standard of football.
Yeah, they are a decent side. Obviously, we drew with them earlier on in the season. They come to play football. Well, do you think that'll suit us? They come out and have it a go. Do you think it'll suit Rangers?
If they come out and have a go, it'll certainly suit us. I think they'll still be quite cautious, so I think they'll try and catch us on the break. I would expect them to flood the midfield. I'm not quite sure how they'll set up with their goalkeeper going off injured last night. I don't know how bad that is. Yeah. And with the lad getting sent off as well.
Yeah, so I think that. Yeah, I seen that last night, and I have to say, that Doige just caused us problems in the past, and he's not been scoring as many as he did kind of last 6 weeks as he has done the previous couple of months. But he's certainly a player that's a handful. I mean, Scott, that's obviously a boost for us. Any weaknesses is good. Did you see Doige having some threat on Sunday?
Yeah, he's always got that physical presence. I do think we've got the centre backs to combat it, but still, I think it showed at Easter Road. He popped up with the equaliser, didn't he, at the back post? So he's that obvious physical threat, and I think he works really well with Kevin Nesbitt up top. So for them missing one of the 2, it changes their dynamic and how they can play. So yeah, it's definitely a timely boost as far as their keeper being missing as well. He's a bit Jekyll and Hyde. I've seen him having amazing games, but I've seen him having some absolute howlers. You never really quite know which keeper is turning up. So to remove him, I'd rather him not play and have a wonder game than gamble on him potentially making a mistake or 2.
Yeah, of course. I think that's just a keeper's nature, isn't it, to be that Jekyll and Hyde sort of character. Hero 1 minute, zero the next. Now, obviously, there's only 2 teams that have took points off us this season, and one of them is Hibs. Do you see that having a bearing on Sunday? A wee bit of point to prove for us, Wilf?
We've certainly got a point to prove. We need to beat them. We need to keep the winning run going. It's encouraging that we got back to keeping clean sheets at St Johnstone, because that was worrying them when we're starting to leak goals. Because I think Hibs will try and catch us on the break. They will have a go and they'll get chances. But when I watched the highlights back today from the Easter Road game, and we missed a heartload of chances that day. I mean, we could have been out of sight before they got the equaliser. So if we run it up front, which I would expect us to be, particularly Ibrox, I mean, we'll certainly make chances because it's an enormous pitch. Ibrox is one of the biggest pitches in the country. So we should be able to get in behind them, particularly if they flood the midfield. We can pop long balls behind the fullbacks, because the fullbacks, I would imagine, would be pushing up. So I think we'll make chances. So it's down to whether we can take them or not.
Yeah, I remember Arfield had a big miss, especially. I think it was at 2 each at the time, or was it to make it 3-1? I can't remember exactly, but you're right. We should have won that game. What, Scott? Do you think there's
Uh,
as I said to Will, do you think there's a wee bit of a point to prove? We've not beat them. We dropped points to them last time. Do you think there's a point to prove?
Hopefully, the players will be hurting from the last one because, as I say, I watched it back straight after we drew, and we did miss a couple of chances. I think Ryan Kent missed a really, really good one as well quite early on.
Yeah.
And we should have been out of sight, not really talking about walking away with a 2 each. But it is what it is. So hopefully the players will look at that and go, right, okay, well, we can't repeat these mistakes. And I think they're pretty good at that all the way through the games that we've played. We're also looking back to, games last season, and we don't want to be talking about missed opportunities. I am quite confident that, we'll go into this game on the front foot. I think Jack Ross, unless he's springing some surprises, is quite a defensive coach anyway. So I don't expect them to really come out and open up. So it does allow us a good chance to hit them early. And hopefully, as I say, with the point to prove, that's exactly what they'll try and do.
So last night, obviously, we kind of took 24 minutes to break the deadlock. But how important is it, Wilf, to keep our heads on Sunday and play our game?
Yeah, we just need to keep the game. I mean, we might need to be patient because they are quite good defensively. I mean, I don't think they're scoring a lot, but they're not really conceding a lot. There's nobody scudding them. So it might be a case of we have to go into the second half still level with no hands up. And if we just need to keep the control, and that's the players are good at that. I mean, that's where the no fans in the ground thing will help. Because if it was ordinarily, if it went on 0-0 for a length of time, the fans would be starting to get a bit ruckus. And be a bit sort of, come on, we need to put this to bed. So yeah, we need to be patient. But I mean, Steven Gerrard's got the team really, really patient. They don't even when they go behind, they don't panic. On the rare occasion we're being behind, we haven't really panicked. So I think we should be okay. And obviously, an early goal would be wonderful. But as long as we keep it tight at the back, I'm very confident that we'll score at some point.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we've bounced back really well from the St Mirren defeat. 2 wins, 6 goals, 1's conceded. St Johnstone can be a tricky opposition, and obviously Motherwell are a half decent side as well. So I've got Scott. Do you think the 2 games answer the questions of our mentality after the St Mirren game, or do you still think we've got a little bit to go to answer the questions?
Yeah, for me, I think it's completely natural after the St Mirren game to allow the doubts to creep in. I think it's important that they get addressed head on so they don't manifest. It was pretty quick, even though going 1-0 down straight away, it felt straight away after the St Mirren game finished, we've gone 1-0 down at home to Motherwell. And you're thinking, oh, here we go. What's going to happen from this point? But I think in the reaction, it was, yes, we are patient. What we're doing is very thoughtful, methodical, and we don't have the fans on the back. We don't have that negative aura surrounding us, and it's the players' mentality. I don't actually think should have been in question anyway, but it's completely natural for us to question the mentality. How are they going to bounce back? How are they going to react? And I think they have, albeit it's only 2 games. It's we look across the road and we see they won 2 games, and we're fully aware in the knowledge that they're not out of the woods by any stretch, any imagination. So it would be folly for us to go, oh, well, we've won 2 on the bounce now, as that's us completely sorted. But then if you take into account the 27 odd games before St Mirren, then you actually go, right, okay, well, that's an exception to the rule. That game was an exception to the rule. And if you look at how we were playing before that compared to immediately after, it has been a complete continuation. What we're looking to do is go on a similar run as what we did before, and it starts now.
That's it. I mean, it's been chalking night and day from last season. Let's be honest about it. I think we've still got the scar tissue from it, and I think we'll take a little bit to get over that. But I totally agree. But we seem a different animal this season, and the bounce back that we've done the last 2 games hopefully will continue on Sunday. Now, Wilf, we've got a busy period of games. So with that in mind, do you think there'll be a couple? What kind of changes do you think will be on Sunday to the team that started last night?
I don't think he'll make many from last night. I mean, I would expect Morelos to start, but then I expected Morelos to start last night. So that shows you what I know really. And I would expect Morelos to come in for no other reason than to bully their defenders. You know, they've got a couple of big lads at the back. The boy Porteous fancies himself as a chocolate hard man, so we can do what Morelos can in, kind of, you know, sort of dragging him about a bit. I think he might come in. I'm not sure who he would leave out, because I never like to leave Ryan Kent out at Ibrox, because, as I say, the pitch is really big and he gets a lot of space. Yeah. So, and after last night, you can't really drop Joe Aribo. So I don't know. You're always wanting to come out roofing the team as well. It's a really, really difficult one. But I think Morelos is a stick on to start. But I mean, the squad size is definitely going to help us over this period, because we're used to playing 2 games a week, you know, midweek, weekend, whereas the likes of Hibs aren't, and they're having to do it this week and next week, and St Mirren are having to do it this week and next week, and they're not used to that, whereas we are. We've got the squad to cope with it, you know. So hopefully any changes he does make will won't weaken the team any.
Listen, Wilf, that is a great point, and I had it wrote down myself. This is where Rangers and Celtic usually move away from the rest of the league in historical terms because of that. You know, Hibs have got 2 missing that we know of definitely from last night on Sunday. Then their squad starts to look a bit threadbare. So, Scott, with that in mind, what would you do? Would you get a couple of bits of fresh legs on the park to try and exploit Hibs' tired legs?
No, I'd keep the same team. I think what we saw towards the end of the Motherwell game and for the St Johnstone game was a lot intelligent football is actually working in tandem, and I wouldn't want to change that, particularly with Morelos out of form. The only reason why I'd potentially bring Morelos back in is because he's out of form, and I want to give him the chance to get a couple of goals. But I also think we've got potentially half a mind on the second, half an hour on the 2nd of January. And I think we could be looking at the team that will turn up on the 2nd. I don't know, it's kind of unheard of for the past couple of years to think about doing that without Morelos, but he's not in form. And I know they're terrified of him. So it does actually give the will he, won't he kind of game thought process. But I'd be more inclined to go, right, okay, let's win this Hibs game. There's no such thing as a easy pass, it's a given. Win the Hibs game, then look at St Mirren. I know we had our trouble, but St Mirren, bringing Morelos back in for that one, because that was plainly obvious that we were missing him for that cup game.
Yeah.
And then giving him the chance in that game to say, right, okay, you're playing for your place on the Saturday. I just think that with the interchange and the way that we looked playing or was it yesterday? Get the days mixed up. Yesterday, we actually looked very, very good. We looked very, very in tune with one another. You know, Aribo, Hadji, Roof, Kent, albeit, you know, Will's touched on Kent's not looked too great, but he's still very, very influential. Davis pulling the strings. I wouldn't want to upset that balance. I would give them another run out against Hibs, see how they do. And that's their opportunity to play for their place in the 2nd. Because I don't see any team in the country defensively being able to match us with us going forward. And we've already got the backbone and the backline sorted. I'd be reluctant to change it.
I don't know if I'm going to sound like a right old-fashioned Rangers dad here, but for me, momentum's key. So I would 100% stick with the same team as much as possible. I would bring Morelos in for Hibs because I think that, as Wilf touched on, Porteous can't handle him. And with that Celtic defence, if we can look a little bit forward, so we don't want to really, they can't handle him either. So we need him in the team, in my opinion. But for me, as I say, I would only make a couple of changes as well, just to keep the momentum. The defence probably stays the same for me. I don't see any reason to change that. Hopefully, I mean, it'd be ideal if we get a couple of goals up and we get, young Patterson on, but, we need to win the games that are in front of us, so I'd go strong as possible. I'd bring Morelos in, and I'd maybe bring Arfield in. somewhere. Who am I dropping? Don't ask me, because it's not my job. Everybody's playing well. But the point I was going to get to, Wilf, I mean, how good is it the fact that we've got 17, 18 players in form instead of 4 or 5 that we've been used to the last previous seasons?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, it's the strength off the bench. You could argue is what's closing out games for us. I mean, we're going St Mirren game aside, two or three up, and then we're making changes just to see the game out. We're bringing on players to get fresh legs in. It's just great that we can bring on guys of the quality of Zungu and Aribo when he doesn't start, fellas like that off the bench, which we didn't have. I mean, last year we had arguably the best starting 11 in the league, but then we started making substitutions. We're bringing on players that just weren't of the same quality.
Yeah, Scott, as I say, how good is it to have the options that Wilf's been mentioning there?
Yeah, I think I could wax lyrical about this squad and how good it is, and I think you touched on having players in form. We've got players in form that are on the bench. They're not coming in. They're not essentially changing or disrupting things, but they're actually influencing in a positive way. And I don't recall a squad that has the talent that this one does in a long time. So talking about how they have their different roles and they have their I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase it. I think I've phrased it before, like horses for courses.
Yeah.
So if we're at Ibrox, as Will says, you don't want to drop Kent because he's got all that space to play in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whereas a tight pitch, as it was yesterday, the likes of Hadji and Aribo can play the interchange. We don't need to try and stretch the pitch because we've got the talented players that can come in and play the intricate passes.
Yeah.
So we've got the whole array of different types of qualities that we can bring in, and they're all in form. Or maybe they're not actually in form. Maybe they're just that good. And so, I mean, I think they are. I just think they're all talented footballers. They're all really, really talented footballers. And I'm trying to think who's probably playing exception at the moment. Davis, Kamara, but I think Kamara's just that good. He's still prone to a slap pass. I think he did it yesterday, right at the start of the game. So, I don't really know how to talk. I've really kind of gathered my thoughts on that one, but I'll come back to you.
Scott, all you need to say is we're absolutely brilliant, and we'll just move on because me and Wilf will both agree.
It's quite. Guys, it's quite telling for me that Ryan Jack is still missing, but we're not missing him. He's been very close for about 3 weeks, but we're not missing him in the middle of the park. I mean,
he's vital.
I tweet earlier saying that's Ryan Jack not quite made it again, and people come back. Well, we haven't really missed him, and we haven't really missed him. Well, and that's testament to all the other players in the midfield. The Kamaras and the Davis, even Zungu. Guys that we haven't missed. We can have a quality player that came out, and we're not missing them. And looking forward, which we don't like to do, his prolonged absence might help us in the long run because he'll come back fresher than the new year.
Yeah,
he's a fresher pair of legs in the new year.
It's the same when we're talking about Hadji as well. Everyone was saying, "Oh, is it a worry that Hadji wasn't in form?" Well, not really, because the other guys are doing it. And then when he's coming in, and now we've seen he's had a bit of a breakout of the team. He's introduced himself back into the team, which seems to be at the right time. And he's coming in and he's making a huge difference. He's bringing that freshness back. And it's like, wow. When was I don't recall. Because like even in Advocat times, when we were bringing in fringe players, it was no disrespect to them, but sometimes we ended up with some real random players coming in, like Tero Pentilla. Do you remember him? Where are these guys coming from? We don't have that. We have, anyway.
Listen, we could as you say, we could wax lyrical about the squad all day, and it's great to be in this position, but we don't want to prattle on too much. We've got Christmas Eve to enjoy. So, Wilf, I'll come to you first. What's your prediction for Sunday's game against Hibs at Ibrox?
Well, Hibs will score none because the opposition always score none. I think we'll beat them 2-0.
Beat them 2-0. Excellent. Scott, what about yourself? What's your prediction?
4-0.
4-0. Who's scoring? Who's scoring there, Scott?
I don't know who's playing. I would say Ruth, Goldson, Tav, and Morelos will come off the bench and get one.
Well, we're due a penalty. We didn't get one last night, so we're due one on Sunday.
Yeah, not had one for a while, have we? What about you?
I'm going to go 3-1. I think Hibs will nick one, but I think we'll have a good afternoon. I think we'll be still 16 points clear by the end of the weekend, which is the aim, and it sets up nicely for St Mirren. We're doing well. We've come back for me well from the St Mirren game, which was always the first question that was asked. It was going to be. We had to answer, sorry. So I'm more than confident with this squad that we can get the result required on Sunday to be 16 points ahead. Don't care what any other team's doing. It's actually superb to just look at our results and not have to bother what the other side of the city's doing. It's a nice new feeling for us in the last decade. So, as I say, we'll just keep going on and keep chalking them off, as we say.
That's it. One
That's
done
it.
on
So,
to the next.
Yep.
That's it. So just on that, we'll end the podcast. So thank you, Wilf and Scott, for giving up your time on Christmas Eve. I hope you enjoy your days tomorrow, and Santa's good to you, and hopefully we'll catch up next week with another 3 points on the board.
To you.
No bother, Derrick. All the best to you for your Christmas Day, you and your family, and everybody that's watching and listening in. Have a good Christmas. So we'll see you the other Boxing Day with another 3 points in the bag, hopefully.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
That's the plan, Wilf. Now, Merry Christmas to everyone, and thank you very much for listening to the Rangers Rabble.